send out an SOS to anybody in town that knows something about the history of the automobile dealership business and center. I found out so many things yesterday about the age of the dealerships and the families that have been in, but the Reynoldses were identified with Chevrolets here forever. The Parkers were identified with Fords forever, and of course the other Parkers were identified with Dodge and Chrysler. Jack Watlington in trucks and the GMC line started just after the war. Chuck Lunsford and Jack Motley. In fact, I was starting to talk to somebody about the Edsel dealer, and I didn't get finished with it. But we've got a program going here, Shirley, on the history of the car business. But anyhow, we have some current footage, and we're going to talk to some of the dealers. I tried to get Clyde Monroe before the camera because he would have dressed the thing up a lot. I told him we needed beauty on camera, but he said, no, please let Donald do it. So I had a real good time visiting with all these folks. But it should be a good show.
Sounds like you did. Great. Well, listen, we're going to have a word from our sponsor, Memorial Hospital Center, and then we'll proceed with the film. And if we don't get back in here, we'll see you next Sunday for the coffee shop.
It's good to know that someone's there, a special friend with tender love and care.
Memorial Hospital, someone that really cares. Neighbors helping neighbors. When you're required admittance to a hospital, choose a hometown Memorial Hospital. Dependable, efficient, with personal attention.
To know that someone's there.
We're here with Donald Monroe at Monco Motors and talking to him about some of the new cars that you've just introduced to Center, Texas. When was the new car show date of the introduction?
The new car show date was actually September the 28th, which is traditionally the last Thursday in September every year.
We're late then, like always, aren't we?
Well, a little bit, but it's you know, it's recent.
Well, now, has the new car show date, is it still the big deal it was when me and you were a little bit smaller, you know, and we used to run around here with a...
Actually not. They have don't have the big unveilings they used to have on the show day. They
secrecy
have, is kind of gone away. We were actually selling 90 model vehicles before the 90 model show date, and that used to not happen.
Well, I understand that, but everybody wants the newest thing and the latest thing.
Exactly.
So, your product line down here, you're on St. Augustine Street.
Right.
And what kind of cars does Monco Motor sell?
Well, we've got Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC trucks, which is pretty much covers the GM lines. We've picked up the lines through the years. My dad started out in 1957 with Pontiac and Cadillac, and I think we picked up Oldsmobile in 1962 and Buick in 1978, and then we picked up the GMC truck line in 1984. So it's our newest line, and has been real good for us because this is a utility vehicle market around here.
Well, I was just noticing the new riding lawnmowers cost about as much as a pickup truck used to cost just a few years ago. Or am I getting old?
No, it really hadn't been that long. I priced a little lawn tractor myself here a while back, and it was probably higher than pickups used to be a few years ago.
Well, is the same guy still buying pickup trucks that bought them when you and I were a kid?
Yes, but there are a lot more people buying them too.
Well, you had to have overalls on to buy a pickup 30 years ago, didn't you?
Right, and you didn't care if it had a radio in it or not either. But things have changed now. Even the farmers like a good stereo and power windows in their pickup nowadays.
Well, are you seeing a lot more kids buying pickups as sport models instead of utility?
You bet you. There are a lot of pickups bought nowadays that are never used for a pickup. They are a faddish thing that are in right now, and people of all kinds are buying them. Families buy them for second vehicles. Kids buy them and decorate them up to run around in. It's a big market for them right now, and it's not just here. It's probably more so here because of it being a rural area, but even in the cities, the same thing's really happening.
What about the age of power? A few years ago, that was the big thing. You had to have a 400 cubic inch engine, had to be able to spin the tires in every gear.
Well,
Is power coming back?
yes, it is. As a matter of fact, they have they went through a period where cars, I felt like, were underpowered, and it's not that way anymore. You can get a car with as much power as you want right now. They've had some engine changes. Of course, there are a few situations where there's gas guzzler tax because of the size engine they put in a car, and that hurts the pocketbook a little bit, but people, when they're spending as much money as they spend on an automobile, they're more interested in what they want than the details.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And I was just visiting with your dad just a minute ago, and he and I were talking about the safety issues, is that General Motors sometimes and the other car manufacturers have tended to want to make cars safer, and it has pushed the price up a little bit. And how did the public react to that?
Well, they don't like the price increase, of course, and there are a few things that they don't like about the safety systems that they have. The passive restraint seatbelt systems. They don't like having to wear their seatbelts when they get in the car.
Now, for you folks that haven't been in one of these new cars with a passive restraint seatbelt system, tell them what that means.
Well, actually what it means is that you get in and out of the car without connecting or disconnecting your seatbelt. It does it automatically for you. And now General Motors systems are easily bypassable. Now, you can disconnect them very easy. Some of them aren't.
Well, thank goodness we can be unsafe if we want to.
This is true. This is true.
Well, what about the gas mileage issue? Is anybody concerned? Do people ever ask you about that?
Well, with the price of fuel being stabilized for a while, that's not a big issue anymore. Although everyone's still somewhat concerned about it. The cars now get very good mileage. It's something we have very little complaint out of anymore. Of course, our GMCs, our utility vehicles, don't have as good a fuel mileage as our cars do. That's just something that you can't have the best of both worlds. If you've got something that's going to pull a load and haul a load, it's not going to get as good a mileage as something that you're just running around in.
In terms of the product line that you sell, seems like you've got the upper end of the General Motors market, starting with the top in Cadillac and coming down to Olds Buick and Pontiac.
Right.
For folks that haven't been out shopping lately, what kind of price range are we talking about, from the low end, what you call an economy vehicle, to the upper end, a luxury vehicle?
Well, basically, with all the car lines we have, it puts us in a situation to cater to any market segment. We've got cars. Probably Pontiac has the least expensive cars of everything we've got, and they start out probably in the $6,000 to $7,000 range, and you can go up to a $60,000 Cadillac Alante. I mean, so there's quite a variation in the things we have to offer. Of course, with the lines we carry, the nameplates indicate that they're all high-dollar vehicles, and that's a little misleading because we've got cars that are competitive in any price range.
Are you seeing any convertibles coming back on the scene? Are people concerned at all about that real sporty convertible that was such a darling 30 years ago?
There's not a large market for it, and the big reason for that is price. A convertible is quite a bit more expensive than your regular hardtop cars are, and that segment that lacks them won't usually spend the money to buy a convertible.
Well, has the van replaced the station wagon?
In this area especially, the Suburban and the van have really taken away from the wagon market. Of course, in this area, we've got to contend with a lot of country roads, and people like the ground clearance that they have on a utility vehicle like that more so than in a station wagon. And it's probably more so in this area than it is in the cities. But even in the cities, it has really slowed the station wagon market down.
Well, you know, I've noticed something about the new cars that I find remarkable, and that is they don't rattle. Because 30 years ago, a rattling car was the scourge of the earth, and you always had rattles. It was something that just came with a car.
Right.
Are they really making them better than they used to?
Yes, they are, and it's just years of engineering technique improvements, and also the engineering of the plants that put the cars together. They are much better built now than they used to be. You hear a lot of people say they don't make them like they used to, and they don't. They are put together better. They last longer. It's very often you'll see a car with 150 or 200,000 miles on it that's never had anything done to it, any major work done on it. And I can remember years ago, it was very normal at 60 to 100,000 miles to have to do a complete motor job or valve jobs at 50,000 miles, and that's just very uncommon now. Of course, you've got other things with the electronic ignition systems and the fuel injection systems and everything that they have, and also unleaded fuel that almost eliminates what you used to think of as a tune-up. Spark plugs will last forever without lead in the fuel to burn them out. There are no points condenser to replace on one anymore. It's a lot less maintenance done on a car now than there used to be.
Well, okay, you sold me. I'm ready to sign up. Where do I sign?
Well, there are a number of ways you can do that. If you can pull your checkbook out, or we can pull out a GMAC contract.
You know, financing really has changed in the last few years, hasn't it?
Drastically.
What's going on in financing?
Well, in years past, people finance cars for a 36-month term, sometimes a 48-month term. 48-month financing was very uncommon a few years ago. It's uncommon now, but in the other direction. 60-month financing is probably the most popular term, because it does get a monthly payment down to where an average individual can live with the payment on a nice automobile.
On the car he really wants.
Right, exactly. But it also has some negative effects, because it puts the person in a situation that he can't trade cars as often as he used to. Because he's got the payoff on his car spread out over a longer period of time.
And in the early years, it doesn't go down very fast.
That's true.
So you're locking yourself maybe into a 3-year trade or 4-year trade cycle as a minimum cycle.
Exactly.
Well, maybe the new cars are built so they'll run that long and outrun the notes like we've always said they had to.
That's right.
They got to outrun the notes.
That's right.
Well, listen, Donald, thank you very much for the interview.
You betcha. It's my pleasure.
We're going to try to find a few other of the dealers that are introducing their new cars. And I guess everybody on the coffee shop knows that what a low-budget operation this is, but we don't even have a cameraman helping us today. So the viewers will have to excuse me while I turn the camera off.
Well, I'm sure they'll understand, and I appreciate you coming by, Buster.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, I'm back again. We're out at Ray Jones Chevrolet, and I was out here looking for Ray Jones, but they said he was other places doing other things. But I did find Deck Jones, brother, and Tim Wolf, a brother-in-law, and they were anxious to appear with me this morning and talk about the new Chevrolets. One quick question about Chevrolets. How long has this dealership been here, guys?
It's been here for about 6 months.
6 months. Before that, how long was it since we had a Chevy dealer in town? A long time?
5 years. 5 years without a Chevrolet dealership.
That's too long, don't you think?
Yeah, let's avoid that needed filling.
Well, I was really quite amazed when I got out here this morning. This lot is packed. I almost couldn't find a place to park the car. Are all these new models? Have you already introduced them?
Most of them are new models. There are 72 1990 models and 5 1989 models.
Well, I may be wrong, but it seems like an awful lot for a small town car dealer. Do the other dealers keep this kind of inventory?
No, but we don't intend to be like the other dealers either. We intend to sell more than the other dealers, and you just come in, tell us a color, and we'll pick you out a truck to take home today.
Well, that's the other thing that was amazing, is that you've got a lot of trucks out here, and I just don't think there are that many farmers that are going to be up here trying to find a truck that's got an AM radio or maybe no radio and something that he can take over the rough roads out in the country. Is that who buys pickup trucks now?
Not most of the time. Trucks are not just for farmers anymore. We have trucks that are used by farmers, trucks used in business, trucks used as personal transportation, especially the new extended cab trucks, as a family vehicle.
Well, some of these look a little too nice to be on a dirt road. I can see a 16-year-old behind the wheel.
Well, they can all handle a dirt road, though.
What about the AM radio? You told me that Chevrolet is putting AM radios and everything, but what kind of radios do people want in cars nowadays?
Most of the radios, like in the Silverado, the top-of-the-line trucks, we have an AM/FM stereo with seek and scan, extended range sound system, graphic equalizer, the top-of-the-line radio.
Boy, all those buzzwords.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about the cars is I'm just amazed that a Chevrolet used to be a Chevrolet. You know, there was the Impala and the other one. What else was
The Bel Air?
The Bel Air, that was
Yeah.
it. And now, what all does Chevrolet have in its line?
Oh gosh, we have 5 or 6 different lines of cars. The Lumina being the newest one. The Lumina comes in the 2-door, the 4-door, the APV, which is a minivan. We have several small cars. We have a Geo line, which is 4 different import type of vehicles, and then we have the regular CK, which is the full-size truck, the S10, which is the small truck, the Blazer, the S10 Blazer, the Astro van, which is the minivan, the full-size van, the Suburban. We probably have 25 different lines of vehicles here.
Wow. Is it confusing to the consumer when he comes out here, or how do you treat a guy who comes in and says, I need a new car?
A lot of times we have to educate a customer. You know, the customer will come in knowing basically what he wants, but not exactly the car or the truck that he wants. You know, he'll come in describing the need, and then we have to figure out what's going to best fill that need. And, you know, sometimes it's a Geo, sometimes it's a Chevrolet, sometimes it's a truck.
Now, you said Geo. That's an interesting little name, and I get the idea in my mind that it's something that's conservative and it's good for the environment. Maybe the Sierra Club might endorse it, and it probably gets good gas mileage. Do you see a consumer maybe that's looking for that car?
You bet. You know, Geo is 4 different lines of vehicles. You know, you're talking about one, the Geo Metro gets 58 miles per gallon. That's a Suzuki, basically. We have the Tracker, which is a 4-wheel drive vehicle. We have the flagship, the big Prism, which is basically a Toyota. It has a Toyota engine, and it's manufactured by a joint venture of Toyota and General Motors in California. And then we have the sporty little Storm, which is coming out probably later this month, which is going to be a sports car, and yet the top-end price on it's only going to be $13,500 list.
Well, how has the consumer accepted the fact that Chevrolets are not American anymore? I mean, they are, but I hear all these names from Japan and around the world.
Consumers are a lot more open to that than they used to be. You know, Toyota and Nissan and Honda have blazed trails there, and people are a little more amenable to a foreign car with an American name on it. You know, everybody has it. Ford has cars that are manufactured in other countries, and Dodge has cars that are manufactured in other countries, and General Motors has cars that are manufactured in other countries.
Well, I also assume that since everybody's not only has them, but they're bragging about them, that the consumer feels it's a positive move on the part of the car companies to stay ahead.
Yeah, I think that's probably a throwback to the 60s and 70s when there was a period of time that the foreign car companies did have a higher quality product than American car companies. American car companies have since caught up and have a high quality product, but the imports still have that good name.
What about the car that was always magic for me and maybe for you, the Corvette? Is it still around, and who's buying those things?
Corvette's still around and better than ever. Corvette ranges from the base model Corvette, which is a $32,000 car, up to one this year, which is called a ZR1, which is mentioned among the best sports cars in the world. It's a limited edition, sells for $58,000, and I understand it's selling actually for up to $75,000. In Europe, it's selling for $92,000, and they could sell 10 times what they're getting over there.
You said limited edition. I assume that's to increase the mystique about the car. Is the power still there?
Oh yeah, power's still there. It has a 350 engine, which is an extremely high-tech engine, and you know the power is definitely there. I read that it was 0 to 60 in I think 5 seconds. It's a performance car.
Well, does that mean that nobody's concerned about gas mileage anymore? Or maybe that's another consumer niche?
everybody has to be concerned about gas mileage. And, you know, it's not just because there are consumers who are concerned about it, but the federal government requires that manufacturers be concerned about gas mileage. If you don't meet the standards set by the federal government, then there's a gas guzzler tax that goes onto each vehicle. That's one reason that some of these vehicles are limited editions. You know, if you go over 10,000 in production, then that car is assessed as a gas guzzler if it consumes too much gas. So normally a limited edition such as the ZR1 or the 454 SS short bed truck, they'll manufacture fewer than 10,000 of those.
Well, that certainly makes that a lot clearer. What about the four-wheel drive? Is it a popular seller?
Yeah, it's a big seller. I was checking yesterday, and we have 10 four-wheel drive vehicles on our lot today. And we've already sold, I think, 3 1990 model four-wheel drives thus far this year. You know, last year it kind of surprised us how many four-wheel drive vehicles we sold, and we were having to trade other dealers to get those to supply people here with. It may have been because of all the rain we had last year, or just the fact that business is good around here in the chicken business and in the woods, and people need to be able to get in and get out without much trouble. But we have had a lot of success selling those, and we have stocked up for the demand this year.
Well, there used to be a sharp line, demarcation line, when the new cars were shown. It was secret up until that point, and you couldn't even get a glimpse of one. How's that changed? Isn't there a soft line now?
Yeah, there really is. I know what you're talking about. I grew up in the car business, and when the new cars would come in, we'd park them in the backyard at the house so nobody could see them. Mm-hmm. And then we'd roll them all out in one day. Now, new models get rolled every year. For one thing, there's not as many changes in the cars from one year to the next. Up until the 70s, every year, American manufacturers especially thought that they had to have sheet metal changes and design changes in cars. Now, the changes from one year to the next may be more refinements than changes. So, you know, between the full-size truck in 1990, the full-size truck in 1989, if you don't know what you're looking for, you probably can't tell the difference. You know, there are a few differences in them, and we can point those out, but you know, there just aren't very many changes from one year to the next anymore, and they're liable to roll. A new car, I think we had some 90s here from about the first of this last year. We'll have some 91s that'll be here as early as February of 1990. So, you know, they roll at different times of the year, and it's hard to tell the difference.
Well, now, your father started in the car business some years ago, Marlon Jones, and
right.
When did he get started?
He became a new car dealer in 1951, the year I was born. Became a Lincoln Mercury dealer with his cousin Melvin.
Well, now, that was the same year that Clyde Monroe started in the car business, and I forget what line he had in 51.
I'm not sure what it was. I think he had probably Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Cadillac. He didn't have Buick, and he didn't have GMC, I know.
No, he didn't. But it seems strange that the Jones boys got in about 1951, and he did too. I guess it was the post-war era, and finally the production was retooled maybe for automobiles again, and so here we go.
That's right. A lot of people back from the war and hungry for vehicles.
I'm going to try to get over and see Heber Parker, but I really think Heber maybe got started in the 30s. He may have.
Yeah, they have a sign on the front window, I think 1936, I believe.
Well, the car business has been good in Center, and the families that have been in it and like it and done well, and I think we're very lucky to have this kind of industry with us here.
Well, I know the Jones family has enjoyed it and appreciated all the people here.
Good. Well, thank you very much. And
thank you, Buster.
We'll see you next year.
Okay.
Okay. I was just kind of visiting with him before we went on the air here about how long he had been over here at Parker Brothers, but I want you to hear it directly from him now. How long has it been, Tal?
46 years. 46 years in June, I believe.
In June? Were you always in this location?
No. When I first started, we were down where the Champion office is, but this building was built in 1946.
I see. Well, now the Champion building, you mean here on the square?
On the square.
Next.
That used to be Parker Brothers Motor Company.
That was next to the Crystal Theater.
Right, Crystal Theater. You turn around the corner, get around the corner and go to the show if you want to.
Well, that's been a while back. Now, did Clyde Watson move in after that?
Clyde Watson was moved in after that, right.
What year did y'all come over here to this location?
1946.
So now you came here in 46 to this location.
Right.
When did the Parkers get into the automobile business?
1933.
Well, that was a good year to do anything, I guess, because of the Depression, but that seemed like it's a long time ago.
See, it went up against in 1933 to 1986. That was when it was made there then. That's when it started over there, and that's when that was put up there.
Well, that's fantastic. I do want you to tell one thing of interest here. There's a mural up here on the wall of your present location. How did that get there?
Well, the fellow coming here, the fellow and his grandson, they come in here and they painted that up there. His grandson was 10 years old at the time, and he held the colors while his granddaddy painted that sign. And he was still with some sign company, and that was painted in 1946. And that was facts have been this here about 8 or 10 years ago. I was closing up one afternoon, and I saw a fella and a couple of ladies coming across the square, and so they went to the door there, and I just locked it, and I opened it, let them in, and that was the grandson that was held the paint for both there, and he wanted to show the ladies that painting up there.
Well, it seems like there's one or two murals around town. There's one in the post office, there's one here, and one Farmers Bank. But this was something that happened in America, apparently, right around the end of the war, or maybe during the Depression. I don't know.
Right after was in 45, I believe. War was over, and that was painted in 46, right after the war.
Well, now, we've talked to everybody else about the new product line, the 1990 cars. Are you going to introduce anything new in the way of cars in 1990?
We got come back with a club cab pickup in the Dakota and in a full-size pickup. Our Fifth Avenues, and we're going to come back with the Imperial again. Our Fifth Avenue will be new for this year, and 2 or 3 other lines we hadn't got in yet.
Well, now, you mentioned Imperial. Just a year or two ago, I remember that was the top of the line Chrysler product.
It'll be the top of the line this year. The last time it come out was only in 2-door, but to come back down 4-door.
Well, all of us remember it as a luxury car. Maybe we're getting old enough now to want a 4-door, right?
Yeah, everybody likes extra room. Now, it's going to have a little more room. That's what it is.
Well, you know, another thing I remember about Dodge and Plymouth products was that at one time when power was king, when everybody had to have the big engine, it seemed like that Dodge and Chrysler had the biggest and the best engine. Is power coming back?
Power is gradually coming back. They're gradually coming back with power. They've been working on quality. Automobiles and get their feet back on the ground over here, and power is gradually coming back.
Well, have you seen positive changes that Lee Iacocca has made? Do you think it's really him, or was it, what was it?
Oh, it was definitely, he was the cause of it. It was his experience and thing in the automobile business, and he's been a wonderful asset to the company. And
that's good.
He done wonders over here.
We were also visiting with someone else about who's buying pickup trucks. Is it all farmers and bib overalls anymore?
Everybody, women, kids, everybody buying pickup now. That's one of the biggest sales. That's the reason I asked them one time why they dropped the Dakota, the club cab out of the line. They said dollars and cents. You know, if it wasn't selling 3% of the market, it was out. And now, so they stopped out and they get back on they're coming back with it now. So that's been all. I think 60% of the sales has been club cab pickups. So they come back with
now,
it.
For us that don't keep up with pickups, what is a club cab?
Well, it's the one with space behind the seat. There's some more jump seats behind the seats. So it gives you more room. Get your room for your kids or your luggage or whatever you want to put in there. Dogs, whatever you want to haul.
Well, you know, the other thing that Chrysler has really blazed the trail on has been the warranties. Yeah. Because old Lee Iacocca knew what America was nervous about, and that was they were afraid the warranty might run out. What's going on in the warranty field?
Well, we got 12 months covered everything except the tires, and you got 7 years, 70,000 miles powertrain warranty with a $100 deductible on 7 years or 70,000 miles. With some any adage for you if you want to buy the little extra, you can get the coverage, covered everything, practically everything else under that same period of time. But we have got a good product and we've got a good warranty. That's one thing. And we're not having a heck of a lot of work on it. Not having a heck of a lot of work to have to do.
Well, cars.
Since you know, you got one.
Well, that's true, and I've really enjoyed it. Are they really better than they used to be?
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think
Is it my imagination, Tom? or that-
you can take one of the old and tie one behind this and wear it out, drag it over here.
Is it my imagination, or have they really quit rattling? Did they used to rattle
They used
30
to
years ago?
wind noise, leak, rattle, whatever on here. But the only thing I guess is improved. Well, I think that even whether you use a plastic, it's better than the metal used to be. So they've improved it so much, at least it's really better than what metal I used to put in them over there as a general rule.
Are people asking you a lot of questions about gas mileage and safety? Are they really concerned with those issues?
Well, of course, first thing is gas mileage. That's the first thing you hear. They're more interested in that when the gas started getting over. And the safety is just automatically there. You don't get asked about that as much because it's just automatically there. All you can do is look and see it. It's there.
Well, how soon are we going to have airbags in these cars?
I got them now.
Do they cost a lot?
It's standard equipment with a car. Yeah. So everything don't happen. Most everything's got airbags now, and they're with standard equipment.
What kind of price range are you dealing in here? Or, I guess the $5,000 car is completely gone everywhere. But what's the low end and the high end?
Your low end of your automobile is going to start around $9,000, and then go from there to $30,000. But you get in here, and you never know what you're going to sell. One fellow come in, he'll want the lowest price thing you got, and next we come in to want the highest price. So, and any one particular car that you can say sell better than the other one over here, they all sell if you get in there in their price range.
Well, now, are people buying stripped-down cars for utility purposes back and forth to work, or is it still kind of an ego thing?
Very few things a stripped-down car is. It's young folks that can't afford the extra luxury, going to school cars, things like that, will buy the lower end of the line over here. Some elderly fellow over here just needs something to get from here to there and wants the price down. But as far as you strip down, you don't sell too many just stripped down automobiles anymore. Even the smallest thing you got, most of them want air conditioning, power steering, and that kind of stuff.
Well, in fact, you've seen the air conditioner come through to where it's now standard equipment.
But used to couldn't even get one in the first place on here, but then they gradually come up there and made like power steering, air conditioning, and years over there. But now it's almost standard equipment. It's very, very few that it's not standard equipment on.
Well, I would have predicted that maybe automatic transmissions would be standard too, but are people still buying standards?
Automatic is standard on most all your bigger cars. On your small cars, you can still get standards. But anything from a medium size up, automatic transmission is just standard equipment.
Are people also interested in the radio? I mean, do you have to now become a technological expert to talk to the kids?
That is almost standard on most all of them. It's some type of radio. You can get one to delete the radio, but you have to say delete it if you don't want it on there, because it'll be on there.
Well, do they want the ones now that the speakers are, if you turn them up kind of high, they kind of vibrate the windows?
Well, most of the time you don't get that in your standard car. They'll buy them somewhere. When they get ready for that, they don't want no radio, or they'll want you to take the radio out and they'll put what they want in there, or they're going to put it in there anyway. They'll buy one of those that rattle their body when they get
Well, I understand that. But anything else that you've seen the last few years that you just are amazed at how it's changed?
Well, I'm amazed at the quality of automobiles now compared to what they used to be. Wind noise, leaks, things like that. It's almost something you don't have anymore. Every once in a while you have somebody. But your quality of your automobile, and your fuel economy, it's all pretty amazing. It ain't just one thing. It's pretty all. It comes on you gradually every year a little bit more until you don't pay attention to it. But if you get one back, a 10 or 15-year-old car back there, then you tell the difference real quick.
Well, has the foreign car manufacturer had any influence on us?
Oh yeah, definitely. It had all the influence. In fact, they all always handle some type of foreign car now, just about it over here. Kind of get with the program a little bit. But then they've definitely had a big. Well, used to. One thing about we couldn't have sold an American-made car back there when they first started. If you had them, we made them. Nobody couldn't sell them. They wanted a big car. Then everybody fussed because they didn't have them to start with, you know. If they didn't have those big cars, why they were so long about it? Well, it's taking time. You couldn't have sold a little car back then to start with. But when it come on, the Japanese already had them. They sent them to us. So that's where we started.
Well, now the affiliation with Dodge and Chrysler has been the Mitsubishi. Is that right?
Right.
And I noticed they're putting some of the engines in the cars, but have Americans taken pretty well to the fact that there's a...
They don't think much about it anymore. If you get a car, this has got a Mitsubishi engine, they don't mind it anymore. If you got a Mitsubishi engine, Mitsubishi, Chrysler on part of that plant anyway, so it's.
I guess the neighborhood's getting smaller, isn't it?
Getting smaller.
Well, listen, Tom, thank you very much.
Well,
I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
And I hope old Jimmy's going to watch this tomorrow morning. And Jimmy, you should have come to work this morning, and instead of working in the yard or whatever, you know.
Well,
So.
that's what Ann said. She said, I'll see you Monday. I said, no, you see me in the morning.
But anyhow, thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Okay.